Andrew Carnegie was one of the most successful businessmen in America during his time. Not only was he a business tycoon, but he also did his share of giving to charity and the less fortunate for a shot at a better life. The Scottish American came from humble beginnings, and with a determinative purpose, made him one of the most successful businessmen in America, who ended up leading the expansion of the American steel industry in the late 19th century. Napoleon Hill, who is a famous self-help author, had the chance to interview this esteemed businessman, wherein Carnegie shared the secrets to his success. The result of this interview became his most memorable breakthrough. The publication of this book is entitled Think and Grow Rich. This book is considered one of the best-selling self-help books of all time. So, for today, we're going to be sharing with you Andrew Carnegie's top secrets to success, the ones he shared with Napoleon Hill. We'll see how these principles were incorporated into the life and times of Carnegie, so that way you too will be able to apply them to your lives. Number 1, define your purpose. Create an action plan and start working toward it immediately. Carnegie came from a poor family in Dunfermline, Scotland, with a hand-loom weaver for a father. Carnegie and his family struggled a lot, which ended up leading them to relocate to Allegheny, Pennsylvania, in the hopes of a better life. Upon arrival, Carnegie and his father found jobs at a cotton mill, where the young Carnegie worked as a bobbin boy. No one ever thought that a poor bobbin boy would soon become one of the richest people in America at the end of the 19th century. From what he has exhibited, it is best to be definitive in your purpose. Number 2, create a mastermind alliance. Although Carnegie put in the extra grind to build his empire, it wasn't possible without the connections that he made. In life, it is important to make connections that will propel you further into your life, whether it be in your career or personal life. Such principle was exhibited during one of Carnegie's visits to Britain when he met several steelmakers. At the time, he was still working under Pennsylvania Railroad, but foreseeing the large demand for steel and iron, he left his former company and joined Keystone Bridge Company, wherein he started managing the company starting in 1865. At the age of 38, he focused on steel production and established the J. Edgar Thomas Steel Works from 1872 to 1873. This newfound company later evolved into the Carnegie Steel Company, which brought forth the first steel plants to the U.S. in order to utilize the Bessemer steelmaking process. Number 3, go the extra mile. Quote, doing more than you have to do is the only thing that justifies raises or promotions and puts people under an obligation to you, wrote Hill in the book. We all know by now that Carnegie first started work as a bobby pin boy, working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. But his hard work didn't go unnoticed, since John Hay, another manufacturer of bobbins in Allegheny City, asked if he would come work for him instead. He accepted the offer, then even though this job was irksome compared to the first one, he still dutifully filled his roles. Number 4, practice applied faith. Believe in yourself and your purpose so fully that you end up acting with complete confidence. When Carnegie was 18, he started working at the Pennsylvania Railroad Company as a secretary/telegraph operator, saying that this had more prospects for career growth and experience rather than a telegraph company. From there, he continuously worked on his tasks, and eventually his hard work paid off when he was promoted as the superintendent of the Western Division of the Pennsylvania Railroad at just 24 years old in 1859. Number 5, have personal initiative. Do what you have to without being told. Carnegie had an estimated net worth of a whopping $475 million. Carnegie made most of his last 18 years by making donations to various charities, which ended up amounting to something like $350 million, of which $62 million went for benefactors in the British Empire and $288 million for benefactors in the U.S. He gave away roughly $350 million to charities, foundations, and various institutions, which is almost 90% of his wealth. He is known for writing the Gospel of Wealth back in 1889, which is a doctrine that stated that a man who accumulates great wealth has to use his surplus wealth for, quote, the improvement of mankind in philanthropic causes, because, quote, a man who dies rich dies disgraced. Number 6, indulge your imagination. Despite growing up poor, Carnegie never let the limits of his birth dictate his life's outcome. Thanks to his industriousness and curious nature, he drew people around him who would help him better his skills. One such person is Colonel James Anderson. The colonel indulged his passion for reading and even opened his personal library of 400 volumes of Working Boys each Saturday night. Carnegie was a consistent borrower and a, quote, self-made man in both his economic development and intellectual as well as cultural development. Anderson's assistance to the young Carnegie had made him so thankful for the use of his library that he, quote, resolved, if ever wealth came to me, to see to it that other poor boys might receive opportunities similar to those for which we were inundated to the noble man, end quote. His capacity, his willingness for hard work, his perseverance, and even his alertness soon brought him opportunities. Despite being busy with the company, Carnegie made sure to indulge in his passions, one of which included literature. He presented himself and made friends with several notable literary figures, such as the English poet Matthew Arnold, renowned American humorist Mark Twain, the English philosopher Herbert Spencer, to name a few, and other notable writers, statesmen, and even U.S. presidents. Being well off has its perks, since he was able to take his family, even his 70-year-old mother, on a trip to the United Kingdom in 1881. Reveling in the wonders of Scotland, they toured the country by coach and enjoyed several receptions en route. Number 7. Expert enthusiasm. A positive attitude sets you up for success and wins the respect of others. Upon the recommendation of Carnegie's uncle, he was able to secure a post as a telegraph messenger in the Pittsburgh office of the Ohio Telegraph Company in 1849. He was a hard worker and would memorize all of the location of Pittsburgh's businesses and the faces of important men. He would make many connections this way, and he also paid close attention to his work and quickly learned to distinguish the different sounds that the incoming telegraph signals produced. He developed the ability to translate signals by ear without even using a paper slip, and within a year, he was promoted to an operator. Number 8. Think accurately. In Hill's words based on the book derived from his interview with Carnegie, accurate thinking is, quote, the ability to separate facts from fiction and to use those pertinent to your own concerns or problems. Ever since he was a child, Carnegie has known the importance of having an education. It's a ladder that leads people to various opportunities in life, hence his establishment of public libraries through America, Britain, Canada, and other English-speaking nations. He also wished for better cooperation and alliances between the United States and the United Kingdom, especially the British Republic, by becoming a catalyst between the two. He even went so far as to purchase newspapers in England, all of which were to advocate for the abolition of the monarchy and the establishment of the British Republic. Carnegie's charm, aided by his wealth, afforded him many British friends, including Prime Minister William Ewart Gladstone. Number 9. Concentrate your effort. Don't become distracted by the most important tasks you're currently facing. One of the most neglected, or should I say underrated, activities that people have a hard time doing is concentrating, especially nowadays. This is due in part because we live in a fast-paced society. Everybody's multitasking, anything and everything, but most of the time, by doing so, some are compromising the quality of their work output. Although it is important to get the job done, it's even better to get the job done right. On his second job in Allegheny City, he got slightly better pay, but the amount of work to accomplish was a lot. Quote, I went and received $2 per week, but at first the work was even more irksome than the factory. I had to run a small steam engine and to fire the boiler in the cellar of the bobbin factory, he shares. He would go on to say, quote, it was too much for me. I find myself night after night sitting up in bed trying the steam gauges, fearing at one time that the steam was too low and that the workers above would complain that they had not enough power, and yet another time that the steam was too high and that the boiler might burst. Despite the demanding job, Carnegie performed his tasks dutifully, which taught him activeness that he applied later on in life. Number 10. Profit from adversity. Remember that, quote, there is an equivalent benefit for every setback, Hill writes in the book. Carnegie first exhibited this principle before and during the height of the Civil War. Before the war broke out, Carnegie arranged a merger between the inventor of the sleeping car for first-class travelers, George Pullum, and the Woodruff Sleeping Car Company. This led to business travels that covered a distance of over 800 kilometers, which became a profit for both Carnegie and Woodruff. When the war took place in 1861, Carnegie was appointed by Scott, who was now Assistant Secretary of War in charge of military transportation, as superintendent superintendent of the military railways and the Union government's telegraph lines in the East. Carnegie had helped open the rail lines into Washington, D.C. that the rebels had cut. He rode the locomotive, pulling the 1st Brigade of Union troops to reach Washington, D.C. following the defeat of the Union forces at Bull Run. He supervised the transportation of the defeated forces. In 1864, he invested in the Columbia Oil Company in Venango County, Pennsylvania, which brought in a forthcoming network of $1 million. Since the war was ongoing, Pittsburgh became the center of wartime production and demand for iron products like cannonballs, shells, armor for gunboats, and other industrial products. And that concludes the principles Carnegie shared that were the key to his success. So guys, what do you think? Are you able to apply these principles in your life as well, just as he did? Hopefully you liked Andrew Carnegie's top secrets to success, and if you want more of this content, please click the like and subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, we'll see you later.